Around the Bead podcast, tire talk for trucking, mining, agriculture, and more. Your home for fleet solutions, aiming to inform, pioneer, and entertain the tire world in connected industries. Sponsored by East Bay Tire, keeping essential industries moving forward.
Around the Bead is back, and we've got the squad in studio, Mark, Phil, and Rob. Today we're talking about 25-inch solids, the 5,000, the 10,000, the $15,000 tires that go on loaders. Today might be a debate, no promises. We might all be in agreement. We have not prepped. We have not talked about this, but we're going to talk about the most expensive and largest solid tires in the world. Gents, are you ready to kick the tires?
Yep, absolutely.
Let's do it.
So first and foremost, let's go around the room. Let's name some applications in which these tires exist. Anybody?
Transfer stations with garbage companies.
Okay.
Scrap metal recycling.
Auto parts recycling.
Those are the big three
Those
right
are the
there.
big three?
Yeah.
Give me some companies.
The pick and pulls across the country.
Yeah.
Waste management, ecology,
Republic.
the big ones, Waste Connections, you name it.
SSA. Is it SAA or SSA, the scrap metal guys?
SA recycling.
Yeah. Okay, so pretty niche industry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so you got niche industries. We've got garbage. We've got transfer stations. We got scrap metal, and we got pick and pull. What are the big brands out there?
Brawler's one of the big ones.
Brawler's owned and produced by who?
Yokohama now.
Okay, under what label?
Trelleborg, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so a Trelleborg branded model brawler produced by parent company Yokohama. It's a lot
It's a
now.
mouthful.
Yep.
Yeah.
TY cushion, TY cushion Century.
Okay.
Setco. Maxam is a big one out there.
Got some others coming into the space, but not big branded yet. Like Ferrantino's starting to make a 25-inch, right?
Well, Galaxy makes one.
Galaxy.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got a few out there.
Okay, and who leads and who would you put in a tier 1 category?
Probably the Brawler in tier 1 at this point.
Brawler, Maxam,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I think you really got to give a nod to Setco, Setco and the Junkyard Dog, and then to Rob's point, Brawler and Maxam has made a strong push into that tier 1 category.
Who came up with this concept? I mean, didn't Setco or Century or somebody design this thing to begin with?
Yeah, we really got to acknowledge Setco when we talk about who came up with this concept. For lack of a better way of saying it, that Junkyard Dog is the crescent wrench of solid OTR.
That's
products.
one of their models.
Yeah.
Is a Junkyard Dog.
Yes, sir.
And you put Setco in tier 1?
I do.
You
Definitely.
do. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So they designed it. They created. How long has it been in existence? I mean, gentlemen, I don't have enough gray hair yet to know when that was.
20 years.
It predates me. I would say every bit of 30, 35 years.
Yeah, I've seen it. Probably seen it for 30, 35 years, but it's really gotten attractive. About 20 years ago, it seemed to really come on strong. 25 years ago.
It's more or less industry standard for those. It's not optional. I haven't been to a landfill or a scrap metal recycling facility or anybody running pneumatics, salt or radials, foam filled. I mean, it is the solid tire and nothing else. Yeah.
Well, in landfills, we run a lot of pneumatics. Yeah.
Okay.
But in high scrub, high flat repair, high hazard area, yeah, it is the standard.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll still see some of the recycling centers where they're doing, paper and plastic and stuff like that. They're running pneumatics or foam fills. Yeah. But for the most part, yeah, it's a solid tire everywhere you go.
Okay.
If you're just trying to prevent nail holes,
Yeah.
You can go, a radial pneumatic, maybe a pneumatic tire with foam fill. But if you're talking about total destruction of a tire, solids is the way to go.
Okay. Yeah. How big do you think the market is? 25-inch solids. We'll call it, we'll not even say North America. We'll say United States.
Man,
Take a minute.
There's
no wrong answer because I don't think anybody has the answer.
If I had to guess, it's 50 million.
50 million.
Gosh, in terms of number wise, there's 50 loaders in Northern California running them. So
50?
Extrapolate that out
probably
across the country. There's probably 100, right? So, I mean, and what's a set cost? 40 grand a set. So
more than 50 loaders.
Take that. Yeah. So take that across the country. It's a pretty significant number.
Give me a number.
Yeah, we got
Come
50
on.
running in one
Come
fleet.
on.
Yeah.
It's you got 50 million,
I'm
Phil. What do
guessing
you got?
50 million, but
We're all guessing.
I bet
I'll
it's
say
way more.
$100 million.
100.
I'll split them 75.
There you go.
I definitely lean on the lower end. There's some bigger markets there, but there's a lot of empty space in between California and New York. I bet there's 20 million on the western seaboard and 40 on the eastern seaboard. Yeah. Okay. So, sizable market with relatively few players when you think about it. Cost per hour. Do we have anything on this? I mean, this is a huge expense for a facility. I mean, they're buying $40,000, $50,000 worth of rubber, sometimes rubber and wheels. We have data on how these things run, or are we just?
We are collecting data. Jesse Nunez, the young man that's on some of our other podcasts, he is actively collecting it. We have another gentleman, Dustin Martin, who's collecting it actively. And, of course, there's no basic. It goes from one extreme to the other, depending on the operation. But, we are collecting the data.
So to get to Joe's question here a little bit more, and the funny part of it is, Mark, how many years in the industry you got?
In February, it'll be 40 years.
Phil?
31.
I'm about almost 20. Joe?
15.
Okay. So who here has data, experience, cost per hour on these tires? At this point, right?
Across the industry, we do it very poorly. We've done it very poorly.
It's crazy, and we just established that it's anywhere between $50 and $100 million a year in tire sales.
I make two arguments on that. Is it's hard, I think, because it takes so long to measure.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who's willing to track that thing for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years?
It's a huge investment, absolutely.
It's a huge investment, and we haven't even gotten to stages of rubber yet.
Yeah. And it's something we've started doing. We've got a good fleet that's got about 13 loaders in it in one location. So we're capturing the data's a little off because they do take so long to run and it's so early on. But you're talking 20 to 50,000 hours. These tires can run on a loader. So put that into terms of days, and
20,000 hours on a set of tires, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's possible. The one caveat that I'd put out there is it's all about application. It's all about operator and whatnot. The surface that the loader is operating on and whatnot. So, to go ahead and say that a 26.525 as an example is capable of running 20,000 hours, it's going to differ site to site, location to location.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how much is it going to differ? If we say a 26.525 set is, call it 40 grand, they get 20,000 hours. That's $2 an hour. What do we think the variance is on that?
It's huge because with the new loaders coming out, the hybrids, the torque variance is
You're talking about with electric transmissions and everything
right,
else,
right. Versus the old standards, the torque is sometimes 50, 60, 70% more. It's going to be changing. There's not going to be a baseline for the next several years, in my opinion.
So we think the variance is 50 points, 100 points. So it could run 20,000 hours. It could run 10,000 hours.
Yes, very much
Totally
so.
agree
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
So I find that a little shocking because I think of a loader at a landfill and I'm like, okay, I mean, they spin the tires, they're pushing up piles, but for the most part, they're similar applications. You're saying they're not. You think there's a huge variance there.
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on whether they're in a pit, whether they're reaching to load, whether they're pushing to load, there's all different types of setups, right? So, and then you're picking up cars and moving them around, and you're on even surfaces, and how that handles, and spinning in gravel versus on concrete.
Some of them have concrete floors. Some have steel plate floors.
Yeah. Which one of those wears faster?
Concrete.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why?
The abrasion factor.
Exactly. It's that surface of the floor.
So is concrete the hardest application from a floor standpoint?
Could be gravel. And
Gravel, yeah.
And it depends on the circumstance. It depends if it's out in a yard where it's muddy. Is it hard packed gravel? Is it loose stone? Is it cement? It all goes into play. Is it load and carry, or is it just pushing? If the guy's picking it up and carrying it, it's a lot easier than going into a pile, pushing, spinning the tires.
Are we seeing solids in other applications, or are we seeing larger equipment come into those? Are there solids going on 988s? Is it basically 26.5, 25, 29.5 and below?
I'm seeing 29.5s, 29.5, 25s and below. There's some 1833s out there. There's some stuff out there, but it's a very small market.
Okay.
Cat 988s. I've seen Cat 988s run at like Schnitzer Steel in Oakland and up in the Pacific Northwest, but for the most part, it's few and far between.
Yeah.
Going as high as that size.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I think you're the only one in the group who's built a tire. Maybe some retreaders here.
Yep.
How do you make a good solid tire? How do you make a cheap solid tire?
So, in the production of a solid OTR tire, if you will, historically, what you've done is you've gone ahead and you've wrapped a wide swath of rubber, whatever the section width of that tire or the width of that tire is, you've wrapped that rubber around a hard base, whether that hard base be a hard rubber base in the case of a press-on tire or a hard steel base in the case of an expanded wheel solid. And what you do is you continue to wrap that rubber around that hard base until you get to a desired OD and weight. Okay. And that tire can, back in the day, that tire used to be cured in an autoclave and then lathed, believe it or not, lathed to a true round. Whereas today, most tires are compression molded to that final finish quality. But still, there's another manufacturer that utilizes a strip winder in order to go ahead and produce their product. And there's inherent benefits to making a tire that way.
What are the benefits?
Well, what I believe later on in the podcast we'll talk about contamination and whatnot. But if you have contamination will lead to delamination, where the tire will come apart. And if you've got a swath of rubber that's that big, well, what ends up happening is you have a catastrophic failure in the tire. Whereas if you're going ahead and you're producing a tire at, say, 17 millimeter width, and you're constantly stitching that rubber back and forth as you build that tire, your area of contamination or that patch of failure is limited to that 17 millimeters.
What do you guys mean by contamination?
Contamination is anything that happens in the factory where
I thought you meant in the field. You're talking about factory contamination.
Yeah, factory
Could be an employee sweating.
Yeah.
Could be a handprint. Could be guy sets his cup of coffee on the tire while it's getting built. We've seen all kinds of stuff.
Okay, so stages of rubber is something we talk about on Material Handling 101, but this exists in a 25-inch solid. I think it's important. You've got 3 feet worth of rubber there. What is 2-stage versus 3-stage? Why isn't there 4-stage?
Yeah, so 3-stage is relatively new to the solid OTR industry. I'd say it started coming around about 10 years ago. There's a couple of manufacturers that manufacture a 3-stage solid OTR product, but just like the manufacturing of a forklift tire, what you have is you have that hard 90 durometer base, and then what you have is you have probably a 70 durometer rubber that meets the road, and right in the center, what you do is you put a soft inner core in place. And what that soft inner core does is it serves to go ahead and provide for added comfort for the operator, and it also, and maybe more importantly for the buyer, it goes ahead and it ensures that the tire runs at a cooler operating temperature.
Runs cooler, wears longer. It wouldn't be more beneficial just to have a harder rubber that's lasts forever?
The number one enemy of a tire is heat. The cooler we can make that tire run, the longer that the tire will last.
I got a question for you, Phil. So apertures, I see a lot of tires with apertures, but whenever I see a tire with aperture, it seems like it's wearing in the middle a little bit more.
Yeah.
Explain that to us.
Yeah, so what you're doing in the case of an aperture tire is you're removing wearable rubber from that tire. And what you see in the case of an aperture tire, Mark, is you see what we would refer to in the industry as cupping. So what happens is where that load is laying on that tire, that center will tend to cup out in an aperture style tire.
And the apertures are just the holes that are around the tire.
That's correct. That's correct.
Phil, I've heard this from you before, but I'm going to ask it. Is there any reason to have aperture holes in a solid OTR tire today?
I'm of the impression, guys, having built tires, I started my career building tires, and I believe that a manufacturer can make a tire as soft or as hard as they want to make that tire.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I believe that aperture holes are totally perception on the part of the end user, and from a manufacturer standpoint, wherever there's a void in a tire, that's less rubber that's going into that tire, so ultimately a more profitable product.
Oh, okay. All right. Tell us a little bit about molded versus press-on, right? So I'm assuming, but maybe you can educate me on Setco. Did they come out with a tire that was molded to a wheel first, or was it a 25-inch solid tire that could be pressed onto the existing former pneumatic style wheel? The original 25-inch solid that came out.
I don't know the Setco. I don't know what they built first.
So the original tire would have been an expanded wheel solid, and I'll tell you guys, there's actually been a full evolution, if you will, of the solid OTR tire. When solid OTRs first came out, what it was very much what I would describe as being big wheel and little rubber. The second evolution of the solid OTR was to produce what was referred to as a super deep product.
Okay.
Where what happened is you took big wheel and you made a smaller wheel, and you made up the OD by wrapping more tire around that steel wheel.
Yeah.
A third evolution would have been in the way that they cured those tires is they hung them in autoclaves. Well, is this vulcanization, if you will, of the rubber took place?
What's an autoclave?
An autoclave is a big oven.
Yeah,
it's a big oven. But in any event, as these tires would cure, what would happen is they would become egg shaped.
Yeah.
So the tire would have to come out of the autoclave after the curing process and be laid to a true round. Then the next evolution would have been to go ahead and put that into a mold and compression mold that product so that you have more of a aesthetically pleasing product, if you will.
Yeah.
More of a true round product. And then the last evolution of this product that we've seen is going to a press-on product. And I'm of the belief that a press-on product is really the future of this industry.
Yeah, because you're reusing wheels and it more versatility to it.
Yes, sir.
So that's something that I feel pretty strongly about, that the molded wheel assembly is a bit of an entrapment, right? You have to trade in your existing wheels, which are valuable to anybody, right? They're the OE wheels, and you've got to trade them in for a molded wheel assembly, which you can only use one time and then trade it back to whoever built the tire, right?
And then when you go to sell the equipment, if the future purchaser wants to go back to a pneumatic tire, you have to buy pneumatic wheels.
Yeah, it gives them no versatility to try other tires. They're trapped in that program.
And one of the hardest parts of building any of those tires is getting the rubber to bond to the steel. That's my understanding, one of the biggest issues that we face today. Would you say that's correct, Phil?
I would, yeah.
Do you see an application where one is better than the other? The expanded steel?
That's a good question.
High torque, maybe pushing steel is the expanded steel to mold on a better tire, or
I don't see a benefit one way or the other. You know,
haven't had any application issues one versus the other, right? The only time I've ever had a request for a mold on was in a skid steer solid tire application where they would spin the press-ons on the wheels. That was honestly probably more to do with the old wheels that were worn out than it was the application. So
yeah, and you could certainly fin those wheels and stop that.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, guys, one of the things that I'd say to you, an inherent benefit of what I would call a wrapped solid OTR product is you have a lot of creative license at the factory level to go ahead and make that tire as big an OD as you want to make that tire, or as wide as you want to make that tire. Whereas if we're dealing with a press-on tire that's molded, we're confined to how large we can make that product.
yeah,
How would you make a tire cheaper?
Well, I'd start with taking the center core out of a three-stage tire if I wanted to make it cheaper. I'd go ahead and always make a traction tire over a smooth tire. And I'd put aperture holes in every single tire I made if I were going to make a cheap tire.
I've heard the term filler.
Yeah.
What does that refer to? Taking more of the good stuff out and putting filler in.
So filler is it's a reference to what we call in the industry crumb, and all crumb is it's an ingredient, if you will, in a recipe that takes up space in a batch, and that's all it does. It just takes up space in a batch.
Is it good? Is it bad? Does it cheapen it up a little bit?
It cheapens up the product.
Okay.
I've heard a rumor that some can put scrap metal and bits and pieces of scrap metal in that like bottom stage in order to cheapen that. Is that a reality or is that just fiction?
I've heard reports of finding trash in rubber compounds and whatnot, and guys, at the end of the day, what I'll say to you is the old adage is true. You truly get what you pay for.
Yeah. I bet.
Okay, so we need some data on this. Clearly, I mean we've got data. We got debates on solid press-ons versus mold. You call them wrapped? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, wrapped.
You want to change the whole industry to wrapped?
No,
we could do it, Phil, if you want to. I mean, I'm pretty sure when people are buying tires, they're like, it looks black and round. We could call it wrapped. Okay, wrapped tires versus press-on tires. You got Setco, Maxam, and Trelleborg at the top. If you put them all in the same application, how much variance do you think there'd be? Just tier one.
I think
Make something up.
Within 10%,
10%, you think?
10 to 15%. I think if it's the same exact application, I think they're all running pretty damn close.
Mark, I'd respectfully disagree.
And you're the expert, so I'll take that.
I've collected data over the years that would suggest that the strip wounded product that Maxam is producing, the MS708, that tire is capable of outrunning a Setco junkyard dog by as much as 30%.
Really
Yes, sir.
Wow.
impressive.
So that says a lot. You're, especially because you put Setco in tier 1. So you're putting it in tier 1, but you're saying a Maxam can outrun it by 30 points. How much could a tier 1 outrun some of the cheaper stuff?
Quite a bit. Quite a bit.
60?
Possibly.
Well, I think part of putting all three in a tier 1, but Maxam outperforming is Maxam is relatively new to the segment, right? With their product. I mean, they're not a year old, but they're in terms of longevity. Setco's been doing it a lot longer, right?
Yep.
So and just has a more well-known name in the industry. But I think the Maxam product has been doing really good and opening some eyes for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think they have some technology behind them that maybe some of the competitors don't have.
Yeah.
And just starting a factory from scratch. I mean, you go to a factory that's built in the last 5 years versus one that was built in 1934, like I was at last week. It's a big difference.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so we think there's some big variation there. You're saying 30% variance just in the tier 1 segment. How are we going to pull some data? We got to come back to the audience with something.
Joe, I'm going to tell you, and I'm really passionate about this. In this space, data collection is king. Data collection goes ahead and it leads into timely rotations. And timely rotations is ultimately what goes ahead and makes that tire last as long as it can possibly last.
So we're obviously not talking about air pressure. There is no air pressure. It's a solid tire, but you're referencing that swapping tires front to rear
Yes,
is
sir.
a key component to that tire wearing.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's huge. It can't be stressed highly enough.
Yep.
Could you get better wear out of a Setco if you maintained it, if you swapped it, rotated it appropriately, compared to a Maxam? Because you get 30%.
All things created equally, I would still give the edge to the Maxam MS708.
Okay. What if it was 20%?
Possibly.
Possibly. How many times does it have to be rotated in its lifetime?
It depends on the application. I've gone into some applications that are rotating every 90 days, and I've gone into other applications that rotate every 60 days. So it totally depends on the application.
Pretty frequently, though.
Yes, sir.
Almost quarterly.
Yes, sir.
That's a bunch.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about what it's going to cost to run a tire tech out there and swing those things on and off. That's a huge expense for the life of the tire.
Yes, sir.
But it does maximize the return on investment.
So that's something I'll challenge us on. Okay, we're going to look at cost per hour of a well-maintained tire versus a non-well-maintained tire. But at the same token, if you've got that much maintenance involved, that's an added cost. You see what I'm saying? Like if you're going out and you're sending a tire tech out to swap those tires once a quarter, regardless of the brand, that's an added, more or less fixed cost
Yes, sir.
that needs to be considered. It's not just the tire rubber.
Absolutely.
Right, you see what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
like
I
as if
agree.
you're on a truck tire and you can get 250,000 out of a steer. Well, if you only have to change it once, that matters. Compared to I'm getting 100,000, even if it's cheaper, I still got to change it 2.5 times compared to the premium.
Right.
Yeah.
Cost of ownership all the way through cradle to grave.
Yeah. Okay. So we want to do some data testing on the top tier, being Maxam, Trelleborg Brawler, and the Setco. We'll probably pull some from the newbies, right? And
Yeah.
the cheapies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, if it's priced accordingly, I mean, to a certain, we love to talk about premium products, but at the end of the day, there are changeovers, right? There are selling equipment, there are applications in which, hey, putting something more economical on from a fixed cost perspective makes sense, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I think we've got the data team tracking a significant amount of tires right now. Obviously, it takes time to get that wear.
Yeah.
I would say by the end of 2025, we're going to have some real good projection numbers and start to be able to break down some cost per hour stuff. So, but it's going to take some time. So
Why do you think it's only Trelleborg is now part of Yokohama, but Trelleborg Brawler was a niche company, right? Really focusing on specialty for a long, long time, and still to a degree is. But why do you think none of the major manufacturers, those are that controlling the top 30, 40% of market share, have ever tried to go into this space? And I say that when you think about all these applications, they do partake on the trucking side, in pneumatic landfill side. They're certainly a part of that end user's journey and their tire programs, but that one piece they're not.
If I had to guess, behind the scenes, I bet they've all delved into it. They've all played with it, but they probably haven't been able to bring it to the market at a reasonable cost and profitability for them, if I had to guess.
I'd say I think that's probably a pretty good guess.
Yeah. And in marketing capacity, brand awareness, right? Like it's not the prettiest, it's not the funnest segment in the industry.
And you still have to have the dealer network behind you.
Yeah.
You know, even if one of the majors does produce it, they still have to have the dealer network out there to understand it and be able to handle a 10,000-pound tire.
Yeah. I hear your points, and I think to play a little devil's advocate for the group, I mean, Maxam did it from scratch.
Yeah.
Right? They went from zero to hero pretty quickly, new factory from scratch, right then and there. And it allows a competitor to get into that fleet, right? To start selling those tires. I think you're seeing more and more of the 25-inch solid at some of these facilities. It's growing in size. I mean, 50 to 100 million is not a huge number, but they do delve into other specialty segments that are smaller than that. I mean, aircraft is tiny.
But aircraft is also very profitable.
As long as there's very few players in it.
Right.
Right? I think there's only Michelin and Goodyear left.
I think Bridgestone's in it.
Bridgestone's still in it? Yeah. Tiny space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something I've never really gotten into.
Yeah. It's very few sizes, right? Manufacturers love very few sizes. It's basically 4. I mean, I don't think there's many there's a few 20.5s, 20, 25s, 23.5s, 26.5, 29.5s. So you've covered the whole market.
90% of the market at least. 99% of the market at least.
The other argument I'd make is they have the best engineers and they have the best compounding out of anybody out there. So if they could build it, they should be able to build a better tire than anybody else.
Well, and I think you're seeing them go to other products. I see on the drawing board some airless tires. They don't happen to be solid per se.
Yeah.
But Michelin, major manufacturer, they've got some airless built tires that we're going to see on the market in the future. So I don't know if they're maybe stepping past the solid and going right to this next segment, if we'll see it that way or not.
It's really interesting too when you look at you can consider it a material handling tire, right? So look at the major material handling players in the world. Historically, Continental, Solid Deal, build as the top tier of those. They don't play in that segment either. I've never been able to build that tire and produce it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting with who has it and who doesn't, and maybe diving into the reasons why at some point.
Well, and we talked about this on Material Handling 101. Basically, every single solid tire on smaller size, not talking about OTR, is built in Sri Lanka, right? The best of the best and the cheapies are built in Sri Lanka, but the majority of those tires come from one country. Mm-hmm. Where is Brawler built?
Brawler's built in China.
Yeah.
China. Mm-hmm. And Maxam is a Chinese subsidiary built in Vietnam, right?
Vietnam. Mm-hmm.
What about the rest of them? What about Setco, Thai Cushion, the rest of those guys?
My understanding is Setco's all U.S. production.
Setco's Idabel, Oklahoma. So that's U.S. based production. And then TY Cushion and Century, I got to believe they're based out of China.
What about the Galaxies? They might get rid of that now that I think about it. Now that Yokohama bought Alliance Galaxy Group, the ATG group, they were building that solid, and then they bought TWS. So I could see them going away with the Galaxies altogether. But where were the Galaxies made?
I don't know. I haven't even seen any of the Galaxies.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
Yeah, I haven't seen one in the market in a long time, so I couldn't even tell you.
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, with all due respect, I don't know, and I don't mean any offense when I say that, but you know, I don't see them out in the marketplace that often.
No, I'm with you. Okay, all right. We got anything else on 25-inch solids, guys?
I don't think so.
About wraps that up, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Let's air this one up. Thank you.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Around the Bead podcast, tire talk for trucking, mining, agriculture, and more. Your home for fleet solutions, aiming to inform, pioneer, and entertain the tire world and connected industries. Sponsored by East Bay Tire, keeping essential industries moving forward.